Well, I haven't heard anything in the news today about Nick and his allegations that he saw a Tory MP murder a child. I did, however, see panic on Good Morning Britain this morning about bird flu. Suzanne Reid was beside herself that the vet she was interviewing said it was highly unlikely to be transferred to humans. She looked gutted. She wants a crisis, not a real one, just a pretend one. I also saw some X Factor reject being interviewed who looked very upset. And I saw that they were also concerned about bullying at school. Real news in the morning, you just can't beat it. Don't get me wrong, if you've been bullied, then I should imagine it isn't a particularly nice experience. But what constitutes bullying nowadays was simply called growing up when I was a lad. Someone says they don't like your new hairdo, that's classed as bullying nowadays, because the person's feelings may have been hurt. Oh, bless them. Fuck off, is that bullying? Ask Roland Browning about bullying. Now he was bullied, repeatedly being beaten up and having his dinner money stolen. That's bullying. Not having your feelings slightly hurt. We've become such a soft, limp-wristed society. Anyway, I digress. So, I haven't seen anything on the news channels that I've watched recently about the allegations of a Tory MP murdering a child, which doesn't surprise me, to be honest, and it cements the fact that they want to bury this story as soon as possible. With this in mind, it would appear that today, Monday the 17th of November 2014, is a very scary news day. I mean, look at some of the headlines that have appeared today. Cameron, world facing second economic crash. David Cameron has said that red warning lights are flashing on the dashboard of the global economy, and a second global crash could be looming. There's the word could. In a bleak assessment, as the G20 draws to a close, the Prime Minister said there was early signs similar to those before the global recession 6 years ago. The second story was bird flu comes to Britain. Wild birds across UK are now a threat from bird flu after an outbreak at a duck breeding farm in Yorkshire. The Department for Environment, Food and Rural Affairs said it had confirmed at least one case of the virus at the farm in the village in Netherton, East Yorkshire, but they insisted the risk to public health is very low, and said they're embarking on a carnival poultry at the stricken farm. ISIL threatens slaughter in the streets of the West. The Islamic State militant known as Jihadi John has threatened to bring slaughter to the streets of Britain and the West in a new video, announcing the murder of American aid worker. The video featuring the masked militant marks the group's most explicit threats yet to attack the UK, America, and dismisses David Cameron as a puppet of Barack Obama. Wow! 3 really scary stories in one day, and all of them were from the Telegraph. Just imagine how many other scary stories are out today. So just a bit of advice, if the coming global manipulated collapse doesn't kill you, then bird flu might, so you must get your vaccine as soon as possible. And if you manage to avoid being hurt from the global collapse, and from being shot up with bird flu vaccines containing cancerous animal cells, then ISIS might just cut your head off on your way home. But don't worry, Cameron will save you. Look, whatever you do, you must live in fear. Fear porn is rife today. Fear, fear, fear. Just live in fear. Be afraid of everything. Look into my eyes. I am the government. You must be scared shitless about what I tell you to be scared shitless about. You understand? Have a think about why today in particular, of all days, they flick out the fear porn. It's like the day after Douglas Carswell defected to UKIP. The papers were full of ISIS will kill us all. Unless the government watch everybody's movements on and offline, then we are all doomed. Even Nigel Farage at that time said we need to give up liberty for security over ISIS.
I genuinely believe that if citizens of our countries had been to Syria or Iraq to fight for ISIS or any similar organisation, we would be mad, literally mad, to allow them back into our countries. So I can't turn the clock back. I tried 10 years ago to stop this from happening and I was shouted down. But what we can do is to make sure that it doesn't get worse. And I'm afraid within our own states, we're going to have to be very, very vigilant indeed. And that probably means, and I'm sad to say this, but it probably means giving up some of the liberties that previously we've enjoyed.
These stories are trying to bury anyone asking about the MP murdering a child. Look the other way, nothing to see here. Move along, please, move along. These aren't the droids you're looking for. Any thinking man can see exactly what is going on, and it's a lame attempt at best. But for the sheeple, no doubt they will now not worry about a Tory MP buggering a little boy and then strangling him to death. They'll be running away from birds, hiding in bushes whilst checking their bank accounts. I despair sometimes at people. Why do they blindly accept what they're told as truth without any verification or cross-referencing? A mate of mine gets all his news from the BBC and he thinks he's informed. It's frankly embarrassing, and I've told him that there isn't any point in me discussing anything political with him anymore because he is simply lost. He's a zombie. He knows best, and the BBC wouldn't lie to him now, would they? It was quite funny when I told him about the MP apparently murdering this child. He is a Tory, by the way. He came back and said in a matter-of-fact way, "There's nothing on the BBC about it." I said to him, surprise, surprise, and just because it's not on the BBC website doesn't mean it didn't happen. He wouldn't have it. Typical zombie. Unbelievable.